There are 10 golden rules for learning languages with stories, and if you apply even one of these 10 rules, then you'll find yourself learning much faster, more words, more grammar, and you'll even start thinking in your new language before you know it. So let's get into the rules, and in time-honored tradition, we're going to be counting down from 10 to 1, so make sure you stay till the end. So coming in first is the 10th rule of story learning, and that is read at your level. Now, we're starting with this rule because literally everything else depends on this. It's a bit like the pin in the grenade. If you want to learn a language by reading, then you've got to read at your level. And reading at your level means that it's not too easy, not too hard. So how do you know if you're reading at the right level? You know that when you can follow the plot of what you're reading. Not everything, not every little detail, just the main ideas, the gist. Now, this typically means that you're going to understand at least 7 out of every 10 words that you're reading. And I can't overstate the importance of getting this right, because if it's too hard, you won't learn anything. And if reading hasn't worked for you in the past as a language learning approach, it's almost certainly because you're reading something that's too hard for you. Rule number 9 of story learning is to focus on the plot. When people learn languages, they're often desperate for the learning to happen. And that's when they start to look up words in the dictionary or worry about grammar rules or whatever it may be. But story learning magic works when you focus simply on understanding the plot of the story. Because when you understand what you're reading, you will learn vocabulary and grammar naturally. As Stephen Krashen says, we acquire language when we understand messages, when we understand what people tell us, and when we understand what we read. So when you're reading, you have one job, and that job is to follow the plot. Just focus on following the plot, even if it's just the gist, and read through right to the end of the story. Rule number 8 of story learning is door closed, phone off. Now, there is a famous study from UOC that found that if you get interrupted in the middle of a task, it takes 23 minutes to refocus on what you were doing. And it kind of sounds like a lot, but look at it in another way. We all know what a great flow state feels like, don't we, when we're super absorbed in a task and time flies. Well, look, language learning is about focus. The deeper you focus, the more you learn. And that makes it critical that when you do sit down to study, you should do everything you can to focus on reading the story and understanding as much as you can. So sit down, close the door. For the love of God, turn off your phone and make every minute count. Rule number 7 of story learning is to learn the script. Now, the story learning method relies on reading, and this throws up the question, well, what if I'm learning a language with a new script, like Russian or Korean? Answer: learn the script. Seriously, most scripts are not that hard to learn. Arabic, Japanese, hiragana, Russian, you can learn all of these in a weekend. And see, once you've got it, it's like that Narnia analogy when you open up a whole new world through the wardrobe. So yes, it'll take you some time to really get used to the script and start to read fluently, but there will never be a better time to learn that script than right now. So learn the script right away. The 6th rule of story learning is don't stop to look up words. As human beings who crave certainty, it can be a really stressful experience when there are words that we don't understand. But in language learning, you must develop the skill of understanding what's going on, even though you don't understand every word, because then you win. Because when you can read and understand, even if it means guessing those words that you don't know, you become completely free. You can read anything you want. But there's another important reason why you shouldn't stop to look up words when you read. And that's because looking up even one word steals your focus from your reading. And it's a slippery slope, because before you know it, you're just looking up every single damn word. So remember the goal of focusing on the plot of the story and stop looking up those words. And if you've picked up any tips from these rules so far, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell too so you hear about my next videos. The 5th rule of story learning is to always listen along while reading. Now, listening and reading together, it doesn't take up any extra time, but you're getting double the benefit because you're training your ears at the same time as you're learning, which helps you to understand the spoken language. It's just like a free lunch. Listening, though, it also has the magical effect of activating different parts of your brain, and this is going to help you learn faster and put words into your longer-term memory. And if you're interested in the science behind learning through stories, then make sure to check out this video about the theory of story learning. Of course, the great thing about having the audio is that you can also listen when reading isn't possible, like when you're driving or in the gym. Okay, it's possible, but yeah, not advisable. Rule number 4 is to read it and then read it again. So story learning is all about reading, and the magic of reading is that you can learn words and grammar naturally because your brain can notice things by itself. And one of the best ways to give your brain the chance to notice things about the language you're learning is by reading things more than once. It's a bit like a great film where each time you watch it, you notice details that you didn't spot first time round. The first time you read something, you might just focus on understanding the plot. But when you read it a second time, you already know the plot, so you can start to guess some difficult words that you didn't catch first time. And if you read it a third time, you might notice some interesting grammar, maybe that's being used to tell the story. Point is, give your brain the chance to notice as much as possible by reading chapters more than once. Rule number 3 of story learning is don't study grammar rules. But Ollie, grammar is important. Yes, it is. But Ollie, you need to learn grammar. Yes, you do. But Ollie, grammar is the most important thing. Not so much. Look, I'm not hating on grammar. I actually really enjoy grammar myself. But the trouble is, grammar has a habit of being all-consuming, to the point where many people only study grammar and don't think about anything else. And the truth is, grammar simply isn't as important as you think it is, at least not until you're at a more advanced level. And so the point of this rule is not to say don't ever study grammar or don't take an interest in grammar. The point of this rule is to say, if you just set grammar to one side, don't worry about it quite so much and just enjoy focusing on reading and enjoying the story, you'll learn so much more grammar than you ever dreamed of with 1/10 of the effort and have a lot more fun doing it. So don't study grammar rules. Go on, I dare you. And if you don't believe me, then I refer you to the first rule of story learning, which is coming up soon. Rule number 2 of story learning is learn every day. When the pandemic hit back in the year that I'm talking about, I don't want to say it, I got a bit stressed and I started going for a daily walk. And 1 hour of walking first thing in the morning, it was great. I really enjoyed it, just as a way to stay active in lockdown and just clear my head. It became a daily habit, and after a few months of walking every day, I jumped on the scales one day and I realized I'd lost 5 kilos just from that one simple daily habit. See, our bodies and brains adapt to literally anything, and I believe the biggest secret to any change you want to bring about in your life is to just do a little bit every day. Stay consistent and then let time do the work. You know, as a language learner, your biggest enemy is often yourself. But if you can commit to reading in your new language just a little every day, then I promise you, you're in for a transformation you won't believe. All you have to do is not get in the way of yourself. And on the topic of not getting in the way, this brings us to our last and final rule of story learning, which is to trust in the process. If one thing is likely to stop you learning every day, then it's going to be getting restless, getting impatient for results, expecting quick wins and eureka moments every time you sit down to study. Because this leads to the butterfly effect of jumping from one language resource to the next, hoping that this time, finally, this will be the thing that works for you. But don't let that be you. Remember that slow and steady wins the race. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Yeah, okay, enough cliches. Just trust in the process, because everything you've ever wanted is waiting for you just outside your comfort zone. Okay, that was another cliche, but you get the idea. If you'd like to apply these rules in practice, then why not check them out in a real story learning course? I have story learning courses in lots of different languages and at different levels. And if you click the link over here, you can take a short quiz to see which course is right for you. These courses all come with the material that you need to try out the method, the stories, the audio, and even coaching from me. And of course, everything at your level so you can get on with the learning rather than wasting time looking for more stuff. So click the link over here and find the perfect course for you.